Stan Moulton Honey Company about hive tools. It's a pry bar, it's a scraper, and you can also use it as a knife. Here's the best way to open a hive. So you take your hive tool, and I want to put the hive tool in underneath the lid. This is a migratory top, and I want to put the pressure on the side of the box. And I'll just give it a push there and pry up. Use it as a pry bar. So I don't want to do it this way because the end of the box right here is the weak point of the box. Typically when a box breaks, fails, it'll happen right here at the corner because you've got the rabbit right here and you'd have less wood in this corner of the box here. So rather than insert my hive tool this way and pry up on this weak spot, I insert it this way and pry up on this part of the box. That'll break, you'll hear it crackle. Oh, look at this. Here. So you'll break the propolis seal. The bees glue everything down. And that's why we need the hive tool to open the lid. If you're using a telescopic lid, this is the reason why you need an inner cover. So the bees will stick the lid down. And if you have your telescopic lid, you can't get your hive tool underneath there to pry apart the box components because they'll really stick things down good with that propolis. So your telescopic lid will come off first, then you pry off your inner cover just like I pried off this migratory top. So I'll take the second box up, this super off, and I'll pry it apart with my hive tool just the same way I took the lid off. Right? So I'm gonna put the hive tool there and lift up. You'll hear the propolis crack apart. So I want to set this down on its end so I don't smash bees in the grass and the dirt. Okay. Priya, here, so
you want to help him?
Can you take this hive tool, and here's what we need to do. I want you to use it as a pry bar, okay? So you'll use some leverage, and you see in between these two boxes right here, you need to put the point in there, yep. Push it in between the two boxes, and then pry up on it until you hear the bee glue. It'll have to go in a little further than that. Let me get
Probably
you...
below the black thing,
yeah,
that's attached to the top box.
Let me get you started here like this. So,
there we go.
So like that. Okay, now pry up on it. I'll lift, and you pry up on it. Okay, perfect. All right.
Priya, you're up again. Where's that hive
Okay,
tool?
here it is. Can you help to get it cracked open? So go right underneath. Yep, pop it in.
You might have to, there you go.
That's it. Good
Perfect.
job. Yeah, good.
Perfect. Take your hive tool and lift the lid. Put a few puffs underneath the lid before you take it all the way off. That'll give the bees some warning that something's happening. If you want to lift the lid up like this, keep the bees from flying straight at you, that's not a bad idea either. And then you'll see the bees on top of the frames. Before I go to take a frame out, I'll put that much smoke on them, and that'll be enough to drive them down into the hive. Now when I take my hive tool and pry these apart, I've got a frame, I can see what I'm doing. The frame's free of bees, so I won't smash as many bees. Right? And then I can lift the hive tool out, lift the frame out with the hive tool. Typically people will want to put the hive tool on the ear and lift up like this. It's a better idea to use the top bar somewhere in from the ear to pry with there. So I'll use the frame next to it as the fulcrum and the hive tool as the lever and pry it up like that. Keep you from breaking the ears off if you do it that way. Let's take out a frame or two just to see what they're doing. This one looks like it'll come out easy enough. Try lifting that frame out. Pretty heavy. Feels pretty heavy.
There's some...
What are you seeing there?
honey on the sides, and there is some brood.
Propolis is a precious commodity in the hive. It takes a lot of effort for the bees to collect it, so we don't want to waste it, but at the same time, it can often get in the way. So, for example, when they glue the ears of the frames down into the frame rests, it accumulates, and sometimes your frame won't fit back in the box nicely. So you take your scraper end of your hive tool and you scrape it out of there. A lot of dead bees on the bottom board that have been eaten, probably by wasps. That's what your hive tool's for. You use the scraper on your hive tool in this manner to clean out the colony. Now this isn't a big enough mess to really be a problem for a new package of bees or a swarm if you put it in here, but just the same, it'll give them off to a little bit cleaner start. Okay, so I'm gonna remove some of this bridge comb here. All right, and I made a mess there, see, but the bees will clean that up. And they get their wings stuck in it, they'll clean each other up.
Oh, that's neat.
The reason I'm gonna cut this out of the way, the bees are just gonna build it right back after we're done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I wanna remove it because if I take a frame out and all this bridge comb is connected here, I'll smash bees.
Okay.
So I want to move this out of the way first before I take the frame out. So we'll try this one on the edge, right? So here's where your hook hive tool comes in handy. You can pull it straight up, rather with this one it kind of pushes it over. So yeah, so pull it straight up, just break it loose right on this side. Okay, all right. And now I'll hold this if you'll get this side now.
There's a bee stuck on the back.
Yeah, they're gonna be stuck a little bit.
Okay, perfect. All right. This is probably all honey. Yeah, it's heavy and it's all capped over.
Look at that. Look at that, Priya. That's all honey. Oh my goodness, that's heavy.
It's loose enough, yeah. Just grab both ends of it there and pull it straight up. So we've got a little bit of row comb here. Instead of building on the foundation like this is right here, we've got a few rows of them building off the foundation.
What will you do?
I like to remove these. This has some drones in it. Here's what I like to do. If I'm not going to do a whole lot of damage, if some of this rogue comb were built and it had a bunch of worker larvae in it, I wouldn't want to waste that. But that's not that far along. It's not going to slow the bees down. I'll take and scrape that off, and I'll ask the bees nicely to start over.
Try again, bees.
Now if I were to put this back in the same place, they're just going to do it again because the frame next to it has the other half of that rogue comb there. So I'm going to take this frame out too and make them start over there. We'll take the inner cover here and we'll cut this off, and then the bees can start over and it'll be less trouble for the beekeeper next time we open up the hive. It's important to scrape that off down to the foundation. Otherwise, they'll start building off there again. So if we get it down to foundation, they'll start over. Bees are building in that space in between the frames where the queen cage was. That's why we get in here about a week after and take the queen cage out, cut out any burr comb like this, any rogue comb, and then pinch the frames closer back together to the proper spacing. So there we got the same problem. We'll make sure we shake this off down in the hive, because the queen could be on there. She likes to use that new comb to lay eggs in. So if the bees have built off the comb at an irregular angle or cross, now's a good time to fix it. So we're in early spring, and when your bees have done something like this, it's easy now to repair this. You don't have bees or brood or honey in there in the way, just cut that out. Remove anything that isn't in a straight line that you don't want. they'll repair that and should come out a lot straighter the next time. I don't want the new bees in this package to have to clean up all the old bees, so we'll just cut this piece of comb out with all the dead bees on there. So we'll just cut it out and make it easier for the bees to fix later on. You can just cut it right out of there and leave the part of the frame that's good. The bees will repair that hole in there, and away you go. Alright, so they've built something perpendicular to the other comb down here. Now's a good time to fix that when there's no bees in here. We'll cut that out. Now I can remove this frame, and we'll harvest this piece of comb right here, since it's too far off of the center of the frame to be much use. So this middle bar makes it easy to do that. All I have to do is cut it out. We'll leave the top piece in there. It's nice and straight. This comb was drawn out into the middle of the next one, and then hardly nothing on this one. So this is a problem that can be solved easily this time, especially with brittle comb. You could save this wax if you want, but I'm just going to take it back down to the depth of the cell that I want right there.